Hello and welcome to this tutorial on parallel lines and angle facts. In this tutorial we'll look at 5 angle facts, so let's start with the basics, that angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. So for example, if we were given 2 angles on a line from a point, we can work out x must be 130 degrees, because angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Now moving this aside, let's look at another angle fact involving 2 intersecting lines. Building on our last angle fact, if we were given one angle which is 120 degrees, we can clearly work out that y must be 60 degrees. Now looking at this line, we can work out this angle. We know that this angle must be 120 degrees, because angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Now finally, looking at this line, we can work out this angle here must be 60 degrees. You'll notice that the opposite angles are always the same. And this is our next angle fact. Vertically opposite angles are always equal or congruent. Now let's move on to another angle fact. Here you can see a pair of parallel lines. And remember, the reason why these are parallel is because they have the same gradient, which is why they'll never intersect. Now we have a straight line intersecting both of our parallel lines. Because the gradient or the slope of this line is the same throughout, this means that the angle made between this line and our parallel line is exactly the same as this line and our parallel line. This can also be said with these angles. This is what's known as corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are always equal or congruent. A nice little trick is to look for an F shape, where the arms of the F are on our parallel lines, and the corners of the F are our corresponding angles. This F can be rotated or reflected, but the corresponding angles still remain in the corners of our F. Putting this aside, we now have 3 angle facts. So let's see if we can try a past exam question. Notice the question says, diagram not drawn accurately. This means you must calculate the answer and must not measure the angles with a protractor. Here the question asks, work out the size of angle marked X and W. Give reasons for your answer. Firstly, always look at the angle you are given and see if you can spot any one of our angle facts. You might be able to see a straight line with 125 degrees. Therefore, x equals 180 degrees, subtract our 125 degrees, giving us x is equal to 55 degrees. Because the question asks us to give a reason for our answer, I'm going to use this symbol, and this symbol represents because angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Now we know x is 55 degrees. Let's see if we can spot another angle fact. You might be able to see our F shape. So that means W is equal to 55 degrees because it's a corresponding angle, and we know corresponding angles are equal. Now let's move on to another angle fact. We know these angles are corresponding angles and they're equal. We know these angles are vertically opposite angles, so are also equal. Now if we simply look at these angles, we have another angle fact. These are called alternate angles, and alternate angles are equal or congruent. They derive from the 2 angle facts being combined together. They can be seen like this or like this. A nice little way to look for our alternate angles is to look for a Z shape, where the corners of our Z are our alternate angles, and the arms of our Z sit on those parallel lines. It can be reflected or rotated. Moving this to the side, we now have 4 angle facts. So let's try another past exam question. Notice it says diagram not drawn accurately. So we know we must calculate the answer and not measure the angles with a protractor. The question states PRS and TWY are our parallel straight lines. where QRWZ is a straight line. We're asked to work out x and give reasons for our answer. Firstly, look at the angle you are given and see if we can spot any one of our angle facts. You might be able to see 126 degrees sits on a straight line with angle RWY. Therefore, angle RWY is 54 degrees, because 180 degrees subtract 126 degrees is 54 degrees, because we know angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Now we know this angle is 54 degrees, can we spot any other one of our angle facts? You might be able to see this Z shape, so that means we know x is 54 degrees, because it's an alternate angle, and we know alternate angles are equal. However, one of the greatest things about mathematics is how there's usually more than one way to get a solution. So let's have a look at an alternative method. In this method, we've worked out angle TWZ first to give us 54 degrees. This is because we know angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. From here, we've identified this F shape. So that means we know x must be 54 degrees because we spotted a corresponding angle. Now let's look at our final angle fact. Using our knowledge on corresponding angles, we know these angles must add up to 180 degrees because angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Therefore, we know these angles must also sum to 180 degrees. This is what's known as co-interior angles, and co-interior angles sum to 180 degrees. They can also be seen like this. A nice way to remember them is to look for a C shape, where the angles inside our C are our co-interior angles, and the arms of our C are on those parallel lines. It can also be reflected or rotated. We now have 5 of our angle facts, so let's see how we can apply them to another past exam question. Notice it states that the diagram is not drawn accurately, therefore we must calculate and not measure the angles with a protractor. The question states ABCD is a parallelogram, where EDC is a straight line, and F is on the point AD, so that BFE is a straight line. It states that angle EFD is 35 degrees, and angle DCB is 75 degrees. We need to show that angle ABF is 70 degrees, ensuring we give a reason for each stage of our working out. Firstly, always start with the angle you are given and see if you can spot any one of our key angle facts. Here you can see 2 intersecting lines, so therefore angle AFB must be 35 degrees because we have vertically opposite angles. Using this 35 degrees, can we spot another one of our key angle facts? You might be able to see this Z shape, so therefore we know angle FBC is 35 degrees because we have alternate angles. Now let's have a look at our 75 degrees. Can you spot another angle fact? You might be able to see this C shape, so we know angle ABC. Angle ABC must be 180 degrees minus the 75 degrees, which gives 105 degrees, because these are co-interior angles and they sum to 180 degrees. Now we know angle ABC is 105 degrees, therefore we can work out angle ABF. 105 degrees subtract our 35 degrees confirms an angle of 70 degrees, because angle ABC subtract angle FBC is angle ABF. Remember, there's more than one way to get the answer, so if you find an alternative method, don't forget to give a reason for each stage of your working out. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below and subscribe to this channel so you'll be the first to know when we release our next videos.